Anybody knows what this is?
Equation.
Yes. It's Schrödinger's equation, published in 1925, a cornerstone of today's quantum mechanics. Before every single quantum mechanics class, my professor, Dr. Leslie Oros, scribed this equation on the board before starting his classes. Dr. Leslie was about 6'4", a mere 250 pounds of probably sheer muscle, very formidable guy. He looked like a lumberjack, or a grizzly with the agility of a bobcat, with the intelligence of Einstein. He was definitely a very agreeable character, whom which you definitely didn't want to get into a disagreement, or much less to mess with. He also had a very unnerving habit of intruding his talking partner's personal space. So it was an all too familiar sight of seeing a student who dared to ask the question after the class, walking backwards with Dr. Leslie on top of him until he bounced into a solid object that stopped him, and then you could see Dr. Leslie just towering over him. Quantum mechanics itself is a very serious subject that makes most students cringe and seriously doubt their own intelligence. It's not a visual C class where you can pass even if you slept with the TA's girlfriend. I remember forming study groups. One member of the study group paid attention only, exclusively what has been said, and another person just taking notes. And once the class was over, the study groups reunited to discuss what has been said and try to match that with the notes. So during that semester, we had two oddball students. One of them sat next to me during the entrance exam to the university, and I knew he cheated. And he systematically cheated his way through all the exams. He was a real mischief, and he liked sitting in the back rows. The second student, who actually was repeating this class, in Hungary you had to repeat a whole semester if you sort of had a hat trick. So if you failed consecutive 3 exams from the same subject, you had to repeat the whole semester. Between semester, you probably flipped burgers for half a year. So he took this class for the second time, and he was a smartass. He liked sitting in the front row, and he was asking questions all the time, which made Dr. Leslie believe that him and the rest of the class had a clue about what has been said. So he took a giant step forward in the material. So it was not fun. It was actually annoying. Annoying to the point that one day when Dr. Leslie turned his back towards the audience and was writing something on the back, this guy, student A on the back, stood up, grabbed an apple core, an apple that he just finished, and threw it to student B. Eating during class is disrespectful enough. Eating during quantum mechanics class is stupid because you miss the lesson. But standing up, throwing an apple core to someone in the front row is just outlandish. He missed. He missed, and the apple core bounced from the first row, hit the chart, defecated the noble equations, and fell in front of Dr. Leslie's feet. Dr. Leslie's chalk stopped. Time stopped. The Earth stopped rotating. It stopped on its course around the sun. The universe stopped expanding. Probably you guys felt this in California as an earthquake. In my imagination, I already heard Dr. Leslie asking questions about the identity of the picture, the ear-splitting, deafening silence, a lot of non-passing grades being panned out, one of them being mine, being expelled from the university, no degree, no career, no coming to the US, no nothing. But once the universe rebooted, Dr. Leslie went forward, picked up the package, because it was a package. It was not just an apple core. It was wrapped into a piece of paper. And for some odd reason, he started reading the paper. Probably at this point, you guys felt the aftershocks. Because this was probably no love letter. And I was just hoping that he knew that he was not the subject of this non-love letter. He was quite a character. So once he was done reading, he just crumpled the paper, threw it where it belonged, and went on with the conversation with the class. It was actually, he had a very steady demeanor. It was very difficult to get him upset. But there was one thing that could always get him upset, and that was pseudoscience. Pseudoscience and all sorts of beliefs that were circulating in Hungary after communism, when freedom of speech started to pick up, was infuriating him. We had a lot of people being interviewed in the 8 o'clock news who were abducted by UFOs, tortured, examined, disassembled, reassembled, and without exception being forced to copulate with the UFOs. So Dr. Leslie was always infuriated by these stories because these guys always lacked any sort of technological detail about the structure of the UFO, so anything that was, substantial, because their memories were, of course, erased other than the emotional part. So when Dr. Leslie was done recounting the 8 o'clock news, usually he stood in front of the class, looked up to the sky, stretched out his arms and said, "Why not me? I have so many questions to ask." Isn't that a great idea? Like, if you were abducted tomorrow by UFOs, do you have a question that you could ask? Maybe other than next week's lottery numbers? I have a question, but I'm sure there are questions for all of us. If you're unsure about what you would ask, I suggest you consult the latest issue of Scientific American. This has a long article about the future of physics and the current problems mankind is struggling with today. Thank you very much for the time.